Ethan Hunt is the main man in a group of IMF agents led by his mentor, Jim Phelps. Jim's wife, Claire, is also part of the team. Their mission is to secretly watch a fake theft of a top-secret list called the Knock List. This list contains the names of undercover spies. The operation takes place at the American Embassy in Prague. Their goal is to catch the person trying to buy the list. But things go horribly wrong. The mission fails, and it looks like Ethan is the only one who made it out alive. Later, Ethan meets with the head of the IMF, Director Kittredge. He finds out the truth. The knock list was fake. The entire mission was a trap, set up to expose a traitor within the IMF. Someone on the inside was planning to sell the real list to a mysterious buyer named Max Mitsopoulos. Now, with everyone else gone, Ethan becomes the main suspect. Ethan escapes. He figures out how to reach Max directly. Claire, who he thought was dead, turns out to be alive and helps him. Ethan tells Max the knock list she got was fake, but promises to bring her the real one, only if she arranges a meeting with the mole. To pull this off, Ethan and Claire bring in two former agents who've been cut off from the IMF. Luther Stickle, a skilled hacker, and Franz Krieger, a tough guy with questionable loyalty. Together, they plan a daring break-in and successfully steal the real knock list from CIA headquarters. Surprisingly, the list is being guarded pretty badly by an agent named William Donlow. After the theft, Donlow gets sent off to Alaska. He disappears from the story, at least for now. With the knock list in hand, the team heads to London. There, Ethan is shocked to run into Jim. Yes, Jim is alive. Ethan quickly figures out that Jim is the mole. He's the one who betrayed the team. What's worse, Franz Krieger is working with him too. Ethan plans a final move. He sets up a meeting with Max on a speeding train, pretending he'll hand over the real knock list. But secretly, he tips off Kittredge, and it disguises himself as Jim. Things spiral fast. Ethan finds out Claire is also part of the betrayal. When the real Jim shows up, he sees that Claire still has feelings for Ethan, and decides to kill her. The plan has fallen apart. Jim's secret is out. Ethan doesn't just expose Jim as the mole, he makes sure Jim pays for it. In a wild move, Ethan blows up Jim's helicopter and crushes him with it. Boom, problem solved. Max gets arrested, the real knock list is safely recovered, and both Ethan and Luther are welcomed back into the IMF. Kittredge, having done his job, disappears for what feels like 27 years, and Max, well, we never see her again. A few years go by. Ethan returns. Another rogue IMF agent named Sean Ambrose causes serious trouble. Using a mask to pose as Ethan, Ambrose tries to steal a deadly new supervirus, and its cure, from a scientist named Dr. Vladimir Nekhorvich. The IMF thinks the best way to get close to Ambrose is through his ex-girlfriend, Naya Nordhoff Hall. So they ask Ethan to bring her on board. Ethan tracks her down by, quite literally, crashing into her car. Then he ends up sleeping with her. Following Ambrose to Australia, Ethan learns that the virus, called Chimera, and its cure, Bellerophon, are still inside Dr. Nekhorvich's lab in Sydney. Ethan plans to break in and destroy the virus before Ambrose can get it. But Ambrose is one step ahead. Using a mask to impersonate Ethan again, he tricks Naya and finds out about Ethan's plan. In a tense showdown inside the lab, Ambrose and his men ambush Ethan. But instead of handing the virus over, Naya surprises everyone. She injects herself with it. It's the only way to stop Ambrose from getting it. Ambrose lets her go free in Sydney, planning to start a pandemic and then make a fortune selling the cure to desperate people. Ethan hunts Ambrose down, but ends up captured by Ambrose's henchman, Hugh Stamp. Plot twist. The man they kill isn't Ethan. It's Stamp, wearing an Ethan mask. The real Ethan escapes with the cure. Ethan puts on his signature sunglasses. Doves fly through slow motion, and a wild action sequence unfolds. Ambrose dies in a dramatic storm of bullets and martial arts. Naya is saved just in time and cured of the virus. Okay, now forget about Naya, because in the next chapter of Ethan's life, she's gone. When we catch up with him again, Ethan is now working as an instructor at the IMF, training new recruits. He's also engaged to a woman named Julia, who has no idea what his real job is. But duty calls again. Another IMF agent, John Musgrave, sends Ethan on a mission to rescue a captured teammate who's fallen into the hands of a dangerous arms dealer named Owen Davian. Ethan manages to find the agent, but the mission takes a dark turn. An explosive implanted in the agent's head goes off, killing her right in front of Ethan. IMF tech genius Benji Dunn tracks the arms dealer Owen Davian to Vatican City. Davian is supposedly there to get his hands on something called the rabbit's foot. No one knows what it really is, but it's definitely important. Before the mission, Ethan quickly marries Julia, then takes off to Italy with his team. Their plan? Capture Davian without telling the IMF. It works, at first. But before Ethan can turn Davian in, Davian's own crew swoop in, grab him back, and kidnap Julia too. Davian now has all the cards. He gives Ethan just 48 hours to bring him the rabbit's foot. Or Julia dies. Things get worse. Ethan is captured by the IMF and accused of going rogue. But help comes from an unexpected place. IMF agent John Musgrave breaks Ethan out of custody. He secretly tells Ethan that the rabbit's foot is located in Shanghai. Ethan rushes there, steals the mysterious object, and hands it over to Davian. But Davian doesn't let him go free. He plants a tiny bomb inside Ethan's head. Then comes the real shocker. Musgrave shows up again, revealing that he's been working with Davian all along. Yep, another rogue agent. At this point, it's starting to feel like all of the IMF's worst enemies were once in the IMF. Ethan escapes, kills Davian, and, get this, has Julia electrocute him to short-circuit the bomb in his head. It works. Julia also proves she's not someone to mess with. She straight up shoots Musgrave, saving Ethan's life. With the danger over, Ethan and Julia finally head off for their honeymoon, still having no clue what the rabbit's foot actually is or what it does. Next time we see Ethan, he's locked up in a Russian prison. But not for long. His team breaks him out. He soon learns that someone inside Russian intelligence is planning to buy nuclear launch codes from a deadly assassin. It's serious. Ethan leads a mission into the Kremlin to stop the deal, but during the mission a massive explosion destroys the building. The world blames the IMF, and the entire agency is disavowed again. The IMF secretary has a secret plan to help Ethan escape and fix everything, but he's killed in an ambush by Russian forces. Ethan escapes the scene with the secretary's analyst, a sharp and mysterious guy named William Brandt. Brandt identifies the real villain, a man named Kurt Hendricks. He's the one who blew up the Kremlin, and he did it to steal a nuclear launch device. Hendricks' assassin plans to trade the launch codes in Dubai. Ethan and his team come up with a clever plan. They trick both parties into thinking they're at separate meetings. Things go sideways. The assassin figures out she's been duped, but before she can react, one of Ethan's teammates karate kicks her out of a 119th floor window. She doesn't make it. Hendricks, however, disguised as someone else, escapes into a sandstorm. The chase ends in Mumbai, where Hendricks uses an old Soviet satellite to launch a nuclear missile at San Francisco. It's the end of the world. Almost. But in a tense final scene, Ethan manages to stop the launch just in time. As Kurt Hendricks dies, watching his plan fall apart, the Kremlin bombing is finally pinned on the real culprit. The IMF is cleared of all blame. Back in the US, the team regroups with Luther, and Ethan spots Julia from afar. Turns out, her death was faked by the IMF to keep her safe. She's alive and well, just out of his life for now. But there's no rest for Ethan Hunt. His next impossible mission puts him on the trail of a secret terrorist group known as the Syndicate, a rogue network the CIA doesn't even believe exists. In London, Ethan is captured by the Syndicate. But before they can do anything to him, he escapes with unexpected help from a mysterious MI6 agent named Ilsa Faust, who appears to be deep undercover within the Syndicate. Meanwhile, in Washington, CIA Director Alan Hunley gets the entire IMF shut down, leaving Ethan totally cut off. No backup, no orders, just him and a handful of loyal teammates. Still on the Syndicate's trail, Ethan tracks its leader, Solomon Lane, a former MI6 agent gone rogue. In Vienna, Ethan and Benji manage to stop an assassination attempt on the Austrian Chancellor, but the Chancellor is still killed by a car bomb right after. Ethan is blamed for the attack, again, and becomes a fugitive once more. Next stop, Casablanca. Ethan, Benji, and Luther team up with Ilsa to steal an encrypted British government file. Inside, access to 2.4 billion British pounds, which Lane wants to use to fund the Syndicate's operations. Ethan wipes out a bunch of Syndicate bikers in a wild chase, while Ilsa runs off with the data. But no worries. Benji, being Benji, made a copy. Ilsa plans to use the file to get out of her undercover assignment, but her MI6 handler, Atlee, refuses. He forces her to stay deep in the operation, and then erases the file she took. Now the Syndicate kidnaps Benji and tries to use him, and Ilsa, as leverage to force Ethan to unlock the copy, which can only be decrypted using the British Prime Minister's biometrics. Ethan's plan? He has Brandt work with Hunley and Attlee to get close to the Prime Minister. Then, plot twist. Ethan reveals he's been disguised as Attlee the whole time. It turns out the real Attlee created the syndicate without permission and has been trying to hide the mess ever since Lane went rogue. Ethan destroys the data, making it useless to the bad guys. Then he sets a trap and finally captures Solomon Lane. Benji and Ilsa are safe, and the syndicate is finished, for now. Hunley is impressed. He reinstates the IMF and becomes its new secretary. 2 years later, a new threat emerges. The syndicate has rebranded itself as the Apostles, now a deadly group of mercenaries who want to bring chaos to the world. Their leader? A mysterious extremist known only as John Lark, who believes that true peace can only be achieved through mass destruction and suffering. He's working with a mad scientist to build nuclear bombs using 3 stolen plutonium cores. Ethan and the IMF team try to grab the cores first during a mission in Berlin, but it goes sideways when the Apostles show up. In the chaos, Luther is taken hostage. Ethan chooses to save his friend, letting the Apostles escape with the plutonium. To find out what the Apostles are planning, the team interrogates the captured scientist and learn the schematics of the bombs and that Lark will be in Paris for a meeting. There, Lark plans to buy the plutonium from Alana Mitsopoulos, a powerful arms dealer, also known as the White Widow. Sound familiar? That's because she's the daughter of Max, the original arms dealer from the first mission. Yeah, arms dealing runs in the family. Alana and her brother Zola are brokering the deal between Lark and the Apostles. Hunley sends Ethan's team to intercept the exchange. The idea? Take Lark's place using masks and steal the plutonium. But CIA Director Erica Sloan is fed up with the IMF's tricky, unpredictable methods. So she sends her own operative to supervise the mission, August Walker, a blunt force special activities agent who doesn't do subtle. Ethan and Walker perform a risky halo jump, high altitude, low opening, into Paris, and track down the man they believe is John Lark. They corner him in a men's room, but the guy turns out to be tougher than expected and nearly takes them both out. Luckily, Ilsa Faust shows up just in time and kills him, though this complicates things. With Lark dead, they can't use his face to make a mask. Ethan decides to take a risk and pretend to be Lark himself. He convinces Alana Mitsopoulos, aka the White Widow, that he's the real Lark. She buys it, for now, and gives him 1 plutonium core as a sign of trust. But she won't hand over the other 2 unless Lark helps free Solomon Lane, who's still in custody. Lane, it turns out, has spent the last 2 years being passed from country to country, each government trying to extract secrets from his brilliant criminal mind. Now, the Apostles want to get their leader back, and they're offering the rest of the plutonium in exchange. Meanwhile, Walker secretly meets with CIA Director Erica Sloan and claims that Ethan might actually be Lark. He even presents fake evidence to support the accusation. Despite all the suspicion, Ethan and the IMF team go through with the mission. They successfully extract Lane from a secure transport in Paris in a thrilling chase, all while keeping civilian casualties low. Things get dicey when Ilsa tries to kill Lane during the operation, appearing to betray the team. But it turns out she's on her own mission from MI6. The British government doesn't want Lane talking, ever, and has ordered Ilsa to assassinate him before he can leak any of their secrets. She agrees to do it because she wants to go home and live a normal life again after years of being undercover. Just when things couldn't get more tense, Hunley shows up and confronts Ethan. He accuses him of being the mole and says he's going to arrest the team and take Lane. But this confrontation, it's all a setup. It's part of a plan to get Walker to expose himself, and it works. Under pressure, Walker slips up, confirming that he's the real John Lark all along. But it's too late. The Apostles have already infiltrated the CIA. They ambush the agents, cause chaos, and escape with Lane. During the attack, Walker kills Hunley, taking one of the IMF's strongest allies off the board. Ethan chases Walker through the streets of London with some truly impressive Tom Cruise sprinting, but the villain gets away. To make things worse, Walker reveals he knows where Ethan's ex-wife Julia is hiding and threatens her life. He doesn't kill Ethan right then and there because Lane wants to be the one to make him suffer. Now disavowed, again, the IMF team tracks Lane and Walker to Kashmir, where the Apostles had previously triggered a smallpox outbreak. The outbreak wasn't just a bioattack. It was a distraction to justify setting up a medical relief camp, which just so happens to be covering up 2 nuclear bombs. Lane's plan? Detonate the nukes at the base of a glacier that provides clean water to 1/3 of the world's population. The result would be mass death, global panic, and environmental disaster on a massive scale. Lane's final move is personal. He arranges for Julia and her new husband to be assigned to the Kashmir medical camp, right where the nuclear bombs are hidden. It's his ultimate revenge, forcing Ethan to choose between saving the world or watching Julia die. Meanwhile, Benji, Luther, Ilsa, and Julia work together to disarm the bombs. But they hit a roadblock. They can't stop the nukes without Walker's detonator. Ethan takes off in hot pursuit of Walker, chasing him through the mountains in a wild helicopter dogfight that ends with a brutal hand-to-hand battle on a cliffside. Ethan eventually defeats and kills Walker, snatching the detonator just in time. Disaster is narrowly avoided. With the mission complete, Ilsa turns Lane over to MI6, finally closing the chapter on her years of undercover work. This clears her name and allows her to walk away from the spy life, for now. The White Widow, remember Max's daughter, is revealed to be secretly working with the CIA, helping them take custody of Lane. Meanwhile, Sloan and the CIA make peace with Ethan, admitting that the world still needs the IMF, and always will. Ethan also finds personal closure, finally coming to terms with how his dangerous job has affected Julia and the life they never got to share. Ethan's latest adventure begins with a Russian stealth submarine, the Sevastopol, carrying a highly advanced artificial intelligence known as the Entity. The crew uses a 2-piece cruciform key to activate the AI, but it tricks them. It hacks the subsystems and causes them to fire a torpedo at themselves, sinking the ship and killing everyone on board. The AI disappears beneath the ocean, but now every major government in the world is scrambling to recover the key. Why? Because whoever controls the Entity will have unimaginable power, control over information, technology, global systems, basically the future of the world. Ethan is sent to retrieve 1/2 of the cruciform key from Ilsa, who has a $50 million bounty on her head. Her life is in danger, and once again, Ethan chooses to protect her. Together, they fake her death, so the bounty hunters will back off. Ethan takes the key, but he refuses to hand it over. His new mission comes from none other than Eugene Kittredge, the original CIA boss from the first film, Back in Action. Turns out he's the one who placed the bounty on Ilsa, but Kittredge isn't the only one chasing the key. Director Denlinger of National Intelligence and just about every major intelligence agency wants to get their hands on the AI. But Ethan refuses to let anyone control it. He believes that the only way to save the world is to destroy the Entity before it becomes unstoppable. So, once again, you guessed it, the IMF goes rogue, which means even this very mission briefing is technically an act of treason. Or, as the IMF likes to call it, just another Tuesday. Ethan travels to Abu Dhabi Airport, hoping to secure the second half of the cruciform key. But it turns out to be a fake. The real key is swiped by a clever and unpredictable thief named Grace, who manages to outsmart Ethan and vanish. But that's not the only surprise. Ethan is shaken when he sees someone from his past, Gabriel. This movie drops a huge twist. Every IMF agent, including Ethan, was once a criminal. The IMF recruits people who are facing prison or worse and gives them a choice. Serve your country, get a clean slate. We see a flashback where Gabriel kills a woman named Marie, someone Ethan clearly cared about. Ethan is blamed for her death and avoids jail by joining the IMF. So yeah, Gabriel didn't just ruin Ethan's past. He helped create who Ethan Hunt is today. Now, in the present, Gabriel is working for the Entity itself, doing the AI's bidding. Meanwhile, Grace gets arrested in Rome, and Ethan shows up pretending to be her lawyer, so he can break her out. The two go on a wild chase through Rome, dodging Italian police, including a deadly French assassin named Paris. Grace manages to give Ethan the slip again, but the team, now including Ilsa, tracks her to Venice, where she's meeting her employer, Alana, the White Widow. Alana has the other half of the key and plans to sell the full set on the Orient Express the next day. But then Gabriel arrives and delivers a cryptic AI-powered prophecy. I will have the key, and one of the women, Ilsa or Grace, will die. He offers Ethan a twisted choice: decide who lives and who dies. But Ethan refuses to play the game. Instead, he attacks Gabriel, creating enough chaos for Grace and Ilsa to escape. But tragedy strikes on a Venetian bridge. Grace runs into Gabriel again, but Ilsa shows up to save her. Sadly, Gabriel fatally stabs Ilsa, fulfilling his own prophecy. Ethan arrives too late to save her. He'd been busy fighting Paris, who he defeats, but chooses to spare. Back at the base, Ethan gives Grace a choice. She can join the IMF, become a ghost, and leave her old life behind. Meanwhile, Luther goes off on his own to keep himself away from the entity's reach. Before leaving, he warns Ethan not to kill Gabriel, because they've realized the entity had Gabriel kill Ilsa out of fear. It knows Ethan could capture Gabriel and expose its secrets. Grace then boards the Orient Express, disguised as the White Widow. She knocks out the real Alana and steals the full key. When she meets the buyer, it's revealed to be Kittredge. He wants to use the entity to serve America's interests. He even admits that years ago he made a deal with Max, Alana's mother, to keep her out of prison, which is how Alana and her brother ended up working as CIA assets. But Grace isn't interested in money. She steals the key back from Kittredge, turning down his offer of $100 million. Meanwhile, Gabriel and Paris are also on the train. They've sabotaged the controls to make sure the train can't stop. They meet with Denlinger, who reveals that the entity was originally created as a US cyber weapon, used to take down the Sevastopol submarine. The key unlocks a chamber on that sunken sub, where the entity's original source code is stored. To keep the secret safe, Gabriel kills Denlinger, then stabs Paris, since the entity predicted she would betray him, thanks to Ethan sparing her life earlier. Ethan jumps onto the train and fights Gabriel on the roof. Just when he's about to finish him, CIA agents, Briggs and Degas, intervene, giving Gabriel a chance to escape. He blows up the bridge behind him to cover his tracks. But Paris survives and manages to save Ethan and Grace from falling to their deaths. Though she's gravely injured, she's still alive and tells them the key unlocks the Sevastopol. Ethan escapes, using a speed wing, and Grace tells Kittredge that she's ready to join the IMF.